Welcome, Michelle, Breana, to monsoon season. I'm so freaking happy that you're here and so grateful you said yes. I feel like that I have that energy of like the first day of school energy where I couldn't sleep last night. I was like,
yes, same.
I'm gonna make a new friend today, and I was just so excited. I got my outfits put out, like which I never do. But I feel so excited to have like our first conversation be recorded, because I think something that tends to happen to me is when I feel like there's a good synergy with someone that's a stranger, I always wish I like could have recorded that first conversation because it's always magic. And I have that feeling about meeting you. And so before we get started and into the conversation, no small talk really, we're just going to dive into the deep end. It's tradition around here in monsoon season to always start the podcast with taking 3 like really nourishing deep breaths. It's secretly for me, it's secretly for you, and it's also for like anyone listening and who's listening live or on the replay. So if you want to put that hot mic down for 2 seconds, we will come right back to it, I promise. And again, anyone who's listening, please join us so we can anchor ourselves. We're all just like coming from different points in our life. So it's really important that we just take a moment to like arrive here and now so that we can all just feel anchored and grounded in the present. So kind of get a little, however you can, maybe like 2% more comfortable in whatever seat you're in. Take a moment to close your eyes. And we're going to place one hand on the belly and one on the heart. Before we begin our deep breaths, let's just remember that we don't have to perform anything. There's no such thing as a perfect breath. These moments are really just for us. We're going to breathe in through the nose and exhale out the mouth really, really slowly. So breathe in. Feel the belly expand. And when you feel like you can't breathe in anymore, just sip in a touch more at the top. And exhale out through the mouth, slow and steady. We're going to take 2 more of those. Breathe in. Sip in more and pour it out. Last one, best one. Breathe in. All the way at the top, full capacity, and spill it all out. Before we open our eyes, let's just take a moment to remember that anything exchanged in the next hour, everything in this episode and this podcast that we're creating is not really for us, but it's meant for someone who needs a certain message at this moment in time. We dedicate this to them. All right. And when you are ready, you can flutter your gorgeous eyelashes and eyes and arrive back into the room. Good. I feel like I noticed our shoulders went down like 7 inches.
That was so good. I needed that.
Me too. Good, 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 good. I'm glad. Well, Michelle, welcome to Monsoon Season. This is a podcast where we really celebrate and explore culture, consciousness, and creative courage. And you're an embodiment of all those things. I everything I do is like really rooted in this idea and this thesis that the most spiritual thing about us is our vulnerability. And my hope and my dream with the podcast is that people don't just get inspired and get that kind of dopamine hit of inspiration, but that it emboldens us and really empowers us to like act and create the things that we wish existed in the world. So I also wanted just to take, a few seconds to introduce you to the audience and the community. Michelle Breana is also known as the rhythm architect, which I'm like, hell fucking yeah, I love that. The rhythm architect, she really, her main focus and her expertise is around helping soul-led creatives who are kind of trapped maybe in like rigid ways of working and being, break free and find like their own innate inner natural rhythm and be able to work with that in the things that they're creating in the world. And I'm just so grateful you're here. And the first thing I want to do, well, first of all, how are you feeling? You feel okay?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. I'm so excited to be here with you. I'm so grateful just for this opportunity just to connect with you, to connect with whoever it is that is listening and hearing this. I'm just excited. I just feel good. And it's
Yeah,
Friday. It's Venus Day. So it's like,
yeah.
yes,
TGI Friday, let's go.
yes.
Amazing. So we're gonna start with like a nice, juicy question.
Okay.
We're gonna dive right in. Michelle,
Yes.
why are you obsessed with Harriet the Spy? Tell us.
Okay, so when I was a little girl, right? This was during the summertime, right? Summertime, it's break time, no school. I would literally take that orange VHS, that old school Nickelodeon tape, and I would watch that movie literally every single day. And what I loved about the movie is I loved that Harriet just had this zest for life. She wanted to explore, she wanted to know things, she wanted to take note of what was happening around her. And there was something about that that really resonated with little Michelle. And, at the time, you're a little kid. And so it's like this explorative type of expression was like playful for me. I had this turquoise parka jacket. I still remember it. It was a Land's End turquoise parka jacket that I would
Nice.
put on just like Harriet did in the movie. And I had my notebook and I would go and I would just explore and I would just write the things that I was seeing and I was writing my observations of it. And so I think from young, I had this natural just kind of zest for life and just wanting to really take in and observe the world around me, to understand people and understand the world, and to really ultimately learn. And I also was obsessed with tomato sandwiches. Like I was committed. I was committed. And I remember my mom being like, she just let me rock. She's like, okay, if you want to eat tomato and mayonnaise sandwiches on white bread, sure, go ahead and do your thing.
Oh
So
my,
I was committed to this character that I was in, and it just gave me so much life.
that's giving me life. You imagining you in a turquoise like parka, Lands End parka.
Yes.
My mom worked at Sears, so she was like a hardcore Lands End like queen and stan. But this idea of seeing you around like the neighborhood, like just spying on people and eating tomato sandwiches is incredible. And I think like, what I notice in media and so, on social is like there's such a like deep, deep craving, especially for millennials, like to like reconnect with nostalgia, and I like one of my goals in life is to have like the biggest VHS like movie collection. I would love to do that. But how do you, like, I guess, bring that version of you? Like, how do you still like keep that version of you in the turquoise parka alive like today?
You know, I think that version of me really shows up through my just innate curiosity. I'm so curious. I want to get to know things. I want to know people. I want to explore and be around different cultures, people from different backgrounds, people from different ages. And I feel like that very much is what I have surrounded around me. Like the friends and the people and the community that I built, they're all different types of people, different age ranges. And I love that because I really do feel and believe that when we lead with curiosity, we realize how much more alike we are as humans than we are different. It's so easy to look at the differences, you know? We tend to very much we can be judgmental at our first
Mhm.
glance of someone of like, oh, they're this, so they must be this type person, or they're this, so they must be that. And I just choose to not lead my life in that way. And so I think the innate inner Harriet the spy in me, who's just super curious about people and just wanting to connect, I think that is how it shows in my modern day life. Like I am literally Miss Google. That is what they called me. Like when I was in like high school, like if I wanted to know something, I was going to look it up. There was no reason to me to not know when I could explore and I could find out and I could ask people and I can learn things. And in learning things from other people, it ultimately helps me to learn more about myself and learn more about the world at large. And again, I think it's all about really the commonality of what it is that we share instead of always looking at what it is that we have that's different from one another.
Yes. Where did you grow up, by the way? I'm so curious. Are you in New York?
So I was born in New York. I was born in the Bronx and I lived there for 6 years. And then we moved to New Jersey. And so I lived in a
Okay.
small little suburb in New Jersey. And that's where that's where I grew up.
Yeah.
I went to Catholic school for majority of my life from like second grade until 12th grade. And so I consider myself to be a Jersey girl. That's mainly like that's where I'm at right now. I'm still in New Jersey.
Amazing.
So
That's so cool. I was
that is
sent to New
definitely
York. You had some New York blood in you. I'm
this
a
is that
Queens
East
girl.
Coast.
Yeah, no, I was born and raised in Queens. I'm from Jackson Heights. Like I lived there for 36 years. Like it's interesting too, like when your friend circle is like I used to have people tell me like, oh, your friend circle is like the model UN because you're like friends with every single country and every single type of person. And I found that to be like the greatest compliment is when you have like a diverse group of friends and you don't have
Yeah,
a certain archetype of a friend that you're
yeah,
just like, I can make friends with anyone. And I think curiosity enables us to do that because it has
yeah,
no kind of look to it and
right.
stuff.
There's no bound to it. It's just I wanna get to know you as a person, to know
Yes.
the human, to know the soul that exists within this physical body. This is just, this is our avatar. This is how we're walking around, but I wanna get to know you and your soul, and I wanna know how you came to be. Tell me about you. Tell me something interesting about, your upbringing, your culture, like what you were into as a kid. Like one thing I have realized is that when you really lead from that place of curiosity, you almost always will find at least one thing that you can relate to with
Mm.
another person, at least one thing. And
Yeah,
then
at
that
least
one
one
thing,
tomato sandwich in
yeah.
common.
Right. And then that can open up other things. And you're like, oh, wow, knowing that, okay, we're both from the East Coast now. Like, okay, cool. Like that one question just invites so much more. It creates so much spaciousness. And I think that it's just such a beautiful thing about human connection.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely. And that's kind of what brought me to the podcast, like to want to do this is to feed that hunger. One question I have for you is as someone who just met you, right? But we're friends now. Let's
Yeah.
put it out
Yes.
there. We
Yes.
locked in. When I look at your your work and like what you curate online, the first thing I notice, it's so funny we're just talking about diversity, but the first thing I notice about how you curate online is that there's a lot of love and reverence for Black culture and Black excellence. Like, that's the first impression that I get when I'm like in your world and like looking at your aesthetics and stuff. I'm just like, oh, this person really, really puts Black culture and excellence at the very, forefront of everything that she puts. And my question that I want to ask is, how do you relate to your Blackness right now? And has it ever shifted as you stepped into like more entrepreneurial work, and when you are in spaces where you're trying to take up more space? Like, how does your relationship with your Blackness like change in that journey, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting question because, my cultural background is West Indian. Like that is where my family is from. That is where my roots are from. Um, I am first generation born here in America, and it's been an interesting journey because growing up, well, having the first couple of years of my life in the Bronx, and then moving from the Bronx and moving to a suburb in New Jersey, going to a Catholic school, primarily very white is what it was. And so I was very much the other. Like I was one of the only Black people that was in my class, the very few that was in the whole school as a whole. And so from early on, I definitely struggled with identity. That was definitely one of my wounds of feeling like I don't want to be different. I just want to fit in. I just want to be like everyone else. Everything about me is completely different from my peers. And so when I went to high school was really like my first experience of really being around other Black people. And so it was a bit of a culture shock for me, honestly, like to come from this one type of environment that I was very versed in to come into something else. And now it's like having to learn these things that I didn't innately just know, or I didn't grow up around. And I think getting the opportunity to really be around other Black people really showed me, one, to really be proud of who it is that I am. Like to be proud of my features, to be proud of the way that I exist in the world. It taught me about what it looks like to actually take up space as a person. It was very early on, a very small seed. I still had a lot more journey work to do before fully kind of stepping fully into it. But that initiation into Black culture really taught me a lot about what I innately possessed and who it is that I actually am, and really taught me more about like leaning into the gifts that I received from my ancestors and from all the things that they have gone through, and all of the hardship and all the things that they had to go through in order to create some sense and some semblance of life for themselves. And I think being around a group of people who historically have been oppressed, a group of people who historically have come from such tremendous hardship and still somehow are able to thrive, that feels so inspiring to me because it feels like I don't have any reason to not go after what it is that I want. Like I'm my ancestors' dream, actually. And
Mm.
I think that there is so much power in that when we really stand in that. Um yeah. I don't know if I directly answered the question, but
No,
I kind of went on
you
a tangent.
you took me on a journey. You took us on a journey, which is exactly what any, good question will do. But that was a perfect answer. It's really reminding me too of like when I first left New York. I went to a very, very white college in Boston, and I was in theater arts. Like I was always the black sheep in my family, and I like always wanted to do creative stuff and not do the stuff that all the people, you know,
Mhm.
who I grew up with were doing. And uh, it's so funny that like when we're in it, when we're the minority in a group, when I come back and I like get to converse and like have discourse with other people of color, it immediately makes me want to like reclaim and like go even harder with like how I show up culturally or how I show up. Like I just like start going down rabbits, like, you know, just start being more of my culture, if that makes sense. It just makes me want to claim it more when we
Yeah.
have periods of time where we are isolated from that part of our identity. And so it's kind of interesting that like when we have that distance from like our heritage and where we come from is like when we like most want to kind of pull from it and have those references be so alive in our work. um, it's really beautiful that, yeah, I immediately felt that like that you've been through a journey with your identity, and it
Mhm.
seeps through how you show up online. I know a little bit about your backstory that you shared, but I would love for you to take us back to 19, which
Mhm.
you call your Saturn return. I actually don't know much about a Saturn return, so please explain that to me first. And then what I'd love to know about is, you know, for me, what the monsoon season really is, it's that season of transformation where everything you think you are gets broken down to nothing and
Mhm.
you build yourself back to like the true essence of who you are. And I'm making the assumption that 2019 was the start of that
Mhm.
kind of domino. So take us back to 2019. Tell us about your monsoon season and what the heck is a Saturn return?
I mean, a Saturn return is essentially what you just described as a monsoon season. Like that's essentially in its essence what it is. But what's happening from like an astrological point of view, right? When we're born, you have your Saturn. Saturn is one of your planets, right? And so your Saturn is in a placement, and it takes Saturn about 29, 30 years, something around there, to come back to the point that it was at the moment of your birth. And Saturn
Mm,
is one of those planets that is very much associated with like a long-term kind of planet. It is a planet that is about legacy. It's a planet that is about very much kind of disrupting what you thought you knew. And so around roughly it's like 29 to maybe around like 32. That's kind of like a range of when people will go through a Saturn return. And a lot of people, when they reflect back over those years of their lives, they realize like, oh yeah, like something happened, something shifted when I turned 30. It was
mm.
like everything I thought I knew, I started questioning things, I started kind of looking at things again. And so Saturn comes in to kind of like really to kind of shake shit up,
Yeah.
is the kind of easy way of saying it. And that is exactly what Saturn did for me. I just at the time didn't really know. I was always into astrology, but not as deeply as I am now. So I didn't know anything about a Saturn return back in 2019 at all. And so I was just out here living my little life, doing my little thing,
Mhm.
and navigating. And I I remember the day so vividly. I remember I was in my bedroom, I was laying on the bed, and I was, scrolling on the phone, scrolling on Instagram, and I started feeling this like heat. It was like this fire like raising up in my body, and I just felt really bad. Like every time I was scrolling, every flick of my thumb, I'm like, ew, I don't like how I feel right now being here. And
Mm.
it was like this voice that I heard. It was like this quiet little voice that just whispered to me that you don't have to be on here if you don't want to be. And it was like the most profound thing to me because I had never actually considered that. It was just, we're on Instagram, this is what it is that we do,
It's
but in
autopilot. Yeah.
Right, it's just what you do, you're on there, your friends are on there, this is how you engage, all the things, but Instagram for me was such a breeding ground for my insecurities. It brought up every type of comparison type behavior that I was living and existing in. My life up to that point was literally just, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not valuable, everyone else is better than me, everyone else is prettier than me, more creative, more this, more that. It was such a breeding ground for that. And that little voice that I heard, whether it was, who knows? I don't know. I believe that it was just the voice of the divine. It was God. It was whoever was speaking through me who gave me that nudge. And I decided that night that I was going to just delete my Instagram. And I didn't really, it wasn't a planned thing. I didn't really have any rhyme or reason behind it. It was just, okay, I'm just deleting it. I didn't know how long that was going to be. And once I deleted it, I just remember the feeling of relief that I felt.
Mhm.
Like, whew, like, okay, I can breathe now. And from there, I felt like I needed to get away and I needed to just be with myself, be by myself. And so I booked my first ever solo trip and I went away to Sedona, Arizona. And I had such a cathartic experience. And that was really my first time up to that point in my life ever really experiencing freedom. It was like, wow, I get to be here and be in this experience without having to consult with anyone about what do you want to do today, without having to compromise, without having to do any of that. And I just got to be me. And that was a foreign concept for me at that point because I didn't really know who Michelle was. I know who Michelle had been up to that point, but
Mhm.
I didn't really know what was Michelle really into, what did Michelle like, what did Michelle not like. I had no really sense of any of that. I was very much living my life on autopilot. And so that one decision, that one intentional choice that I made to actually listen to my intuitive voice is what started the whole healing journey, spiritual journey, all of the things, identity work, all of the things, going deep into the caves, excavating things, really looking at my wounds. I started therapy. um I think it was like 2021, somewhere around there. I started going to therapy and really just tending to myself
Mhm.
without the biggest distraction that I had in my life at that time, which was, for me, it was Instagram. And so that one choice turned into like a 3.5 year just hiatus from being off this app. So all during 2020, like during the pandemic and all that stuff, I was not online. I missed whatever was happening. Like,
That's yeah, that's why people were more online than ever
yeah,
because like,
I
couldn't
was not. I was not online at all. That was probably deepest, like my deepest moments of like deep healing and spending time with myself because everything was topsy turvy, you know what I mean, during that period
Mhm.
of time. And so I was really getting to spend quality, intimate time with myself. And I was really getting to know me for the first time. And it revealed so much. It's literally what got me to this point today. Like I know that it is. Had I not made that one choice, and I think that's the one thing that always it always comes up for me as a reminder is how important our choices are and how much power is in a choice. Because when we decide, we allow something different to happen. And I think that that's a really beautiful place to be and a beautiful place to stand in, is the power of our ability to choose for ourselves. And I always think about that. I think and I reflect about it a lot. Is I have the ability to create my life and make up my life the way that I want through intentional action and through intentional choices.
Yeah, that's like what a true architect does, right? Like builds
Yeah.
what you really want is what people can't even see, or it's not real until it's here first, and then it's here, and then you go out into the world and you make one choice at a time. I kind of asked you this in like our email exchange because I was so curious about like this social media like sabbatical from Instagram and stuff. Like, how right now do you like maintain a healthy relationship with content creation and not like allow it to backslide into that old version of you?
I think it's a balance, right? It is.
Asking for a friend.
Yeah, it's a balance, and I think, one of the things that I feel we just in general need to just step into more is our sovereignty. And part of what I look at as being a sovereign being is recognizing what we need and giving that to ourselves. And so that hiatus for me, I at some point along that journey, I knew, okay, I'm not getting back on the apps until it actually makes sense, like until there's some reason for me to go back on there. And so that's
Mhm.
partly why it was such a long hiatus, because unless there was a reason and unless there was something intentional about how I could be in this, like in this space and exist on these apps, I wasn't going to go back on. And so once I started to realize that my purpose work was going to require me to be seen, it was going to require me to be in the public eye, I'm like, okay, this makes sense. So, one of the first things I did was I created a whole new Instagram. I didn't go back to the old one that I had, because the way I looked at it, that old version was a representative of someone who didn't even know themselves,
Mhm.
is really what it was. And so everything I was following, all of that stuff really didn't resonate with the person that I know that I was growing into and the person that I was becoming. And so in creating that new account, I started to follow and engage with things that actually interest me, things that I actually like, things, people that I actually want to hear from, and people that I'm curious about. And so one of the things that I love is my feed. Like, I actually enjoy my feed. I like the people that I follow. I like the information that I'm actually consuming. I learn a lot of things. I've been able to connect with people, like-minded
Mhm.
people like you. Like, I was very much intentional about curating a space that felt supportive to me, following people who look like me, from, my body type to my hair texture, all of those things, being around more of that and surrounding myself with that. And I also think it's important to create certain limits for yourself, because it is so easy to get into the rabbit hole. It's so easy because these things are addictive, and we know that they're created to be that way. And so right now I'm using a brick. I don't know if have you heard of the brick?
Oh, I've been wanting to. I've been toying with that idea, but I used to have a light phone, which
Mhm.
like didn't have any social media. It was just like a dumb phone, basically. I've
Yeah.
gone through phases, but I've been back on the iPhone, and then I've been, looking at bricks. So that's kind of a tool that you use,
Yeah,
like.
so the brick is a tool that I use, that I've actually really been enjoying using it, because you can customize it for what it is that you need. So, like, I have certain modes. So, like, I have a creative mode where I need to be on my phone. I need access to my phone, but I can limit
Mhm.
what it is that I'm on there doing, so that I can focus on just whatever the task is. And so that is something that helps me. I also take regular breaks from social media. I will disappear, because I can tell, I can feel it in my body when I've been on there too long. When I'm consuming more than I'm creating, when I'm spending a lot of aimless time just scrolling. I know that. I observe that in myself and in my behavior. And so I will take a break and just, okay, delete the apps for the weekend, delete them for a week, whatever it is, and just take a reset, return back to yourself. You'll know when it's time to come back on, and when you have something to share. And so I think it's just this balance, it's this dance of just paying attention to your own behaviors, observing your own behaviors, and then really acknowledging where you are, being real with yourself. I think that's a big part of this journey too, is you have to be real with yourself and you have to be honest with yourself. And it's okay. Like I get in the loop. I get in the loop, trust me. I totally do. And I have to check myself and I'm like, okay, girl, enough is enough. And so I think a big part of that is that being real with yourself and really being and being sovereign and like just standing in that and knowing that you have a say. You don't have to be controlled by this external thing.
Mhm.
You are the one who's in control of what you allow in your life and how much time you spend on an app or how much time you spend with certain people or in certain situations. Like you have control over that.
Yeah, and it's so powerful because the two things I'm taking away is that like you feel it somatically in your body first. Like
Mhm.
your body tells you the signal, it gives you the signal, but we're so used to like feeling the tightness in our chest or feeling that ick or that, fascia kind of like starting to tighten and crumple and we ignore it, and then we
Mhm.
keep ignoring it until and then it becomes something bigger than it needs to be. But like the more we tap into that somatic, like listening to the somatics of it, it's so interesting because you talked about like how you made this decision like from just that feeling in the body first. Like you had to first listen to like what
Yeah.
your body was telling
Yeah.
you, and then that just the distancing yourself from that feeling and then assessing like what's going on right now, like why do I feel this way, like I
Yeah.
don't want to feel this way. That enables you to actually have enough space in your mind to make decisions like I want to go on a solo trip, but those things don't come to us when we're like filling every waking moment with something, with the
Yeah.
distraction. So
Yeah.
that's the thing, and that's so much too of like of I think our work of like teaching people it's okay to be bored. It's okay to like sit with yourself. It's okay. Like
Yes.
that's actually where like the juice is. Like
Oh my
that's
goodness. Yes.
where
So
all of
much.
the insights come from.
Yes, so much comes from that spaciousness,
Mhm.
like, I think back a lot, we kind of started the conversation talking about, Harriet the Spy and little Michelle, right? Like when we
Yeah.
were kids, especially as, I think for us like millennials, we didn't have a lot of things to distract us. We were bored a lot and you had to entertain yourself. The same thing happens when you create that spaciousness in your life now. If you take away certain things, you will find things to do because you're going to find things to do because you have the spaciousness for it. It's actually a really cool kind of experience and it's very interesting how your creative juices even come online during those times because you will get creative about the things that you find to do instead of
Mhm.
just kind of sitting, you
Yeah.
know?
Sitting and like, yeah, scrolling on the screens. Something that you shared with me, and I just want to quote this because it's so beautiful. But you like in terms of your monsoon season, you wrote, and what I came to understand is that the thing I'm here to do is simply be myself. That everyone's dharma really is becoming unapologetically who they naturally are. How did you figure out that that was your dharma and that's the dharma of everyone in the universe?
It took time. It took time to kind of come to that conclusion or to come to that revelation about it because, you know, when I was young, and it's so interesting when I reflect on it, I used to think about the concept of purpose a lot. Like I was a little kid
Mhm,
thinking about like purpose or what I wanted to do in the world. And, purpose very much, I think, societal wise, gets conflated with your career and your job. And so for a long time, that was what I associated with. Well, my purpose in this life is whatever it is I want to do, and I was always very unsure like about what I actually wanted to do. I felt kind of insecure about that. And I would see other people who seemed so sure and they knew like, I want to go into this field, I want to go into that field, and I was very unsure. And my journey of my healing, and I think also during that particular period of time, I also went through a certification toward becoming a Dharma and spiritual life coach. And I think that is what really started to open me up to a bigger concept of what purpose actually is. And I
Mhm.
understood it from a different place, because what I started to understand about what our innate purpose is, it is to authentically just be us, to take the skills that we naturally have, to take the interests that we naturally have, to take on even, the worldly skills that we acquired. And it's like putting the pieces, the puzzle pieces kind of together of who we are, and
Mhm.
bringing something unique into the world. Because I believe that we are all creative beings. We were created by an ultimate creator, and we are pieces of the creator. And therefore, we are meant to create. And no one's experience is exactly the same. And because of that, that's your uniqueness. You have a unique point of view that nobody else is going to have. And when you take that point of view, plus your unique skills, plus your unique interests, and all of those things, you piece them all together, you bring such a special sauce into the world that no one else can do. And so it was just kind of this gradual deepening into myself when I realized, like, okay, the things that I'm actually gravitating towards, the work that I'm doing in the world, like, it encompasses all of who I am naturally. I don't have to be anyone else but myself. And that feels really beautiful and feels really supportive, especially after having spent so much time trying to fit in all the time and trying to contort and conform myself to be palatable. And it's
Mhm.
like, no, I get to be me. I get to wear my big jewelry, and I get to, put my little outfits on, and I get to show up in the fullness of me and my creativity and in all of my weirdness and my quirkiness. And that is my special sauce. And that is what I know I'm here to do and be. And
Mhm.
because I know that's what I'm here to do and be, I know that's what everyone else is here to do and be. And so that's kind of how I look at it, how I kind of see the whole thing.
Yeah. I'm like, damn, I'm just gonna let this girl cook right now because she's just everything you're saying resonates so deeply, and it's funny because the way you're talking about your journey, it's very similar to like when I became a meditation teacher 2 years ago. I had the same realization. I'm like, oh, I'm just here to exist, but I
Mhm.
think the secondary problem that comes with that realization is then you want to be of service to the world and you want to
Right.
use your gifts. And so, how do you grapple? I think I selfishly need to ask every human being that knows
Mhm.
this truth. How do you grapple with like wanting the ambition of like having a successful business and going after the things you want while also understanding that like, oh, I'm just here to exist and be Michelle. Like
Yeah,
it's such a tug of war
it
constantly
is.
of like for me, I keep falling into that trap of like, I'm feeling so ambitious this season. I'm gonna like get things to move and build that momentum in my business. And then I have to constantly retreat and remember that truth inside.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, exactly what you said, right? It's a dance, right? It's a dance. And I think one of the things that has become more clear to me over these last like 2 3 years, I would say, is really leaning into the idea and the concept of seasons, right? Just personal seasons. Because I don't think every season is necessarily for producing. It is necessarily for like for outward production, right? I very much am a component of, like, nature is the ultimate teacher for me. I
Mhm.
learn so much from nature and I observe it, and I'm grateful to live in an area where I get to experience all of the seasons. So I feel all of them. And in observing the seasons of nature, I see how there are seasons where nature is on the outside, not much is happening, not much is moving, but there's so much that's happening internally. And so I know that one, I am here to assist and to help. That is ultimately what it's about, right? To be of service to others. And
Mhm.
I feel that when we share the things that helped us, when we share our stories, it helps other people. And so we have to have these moments of our lives where part of it is just to live. I think we have to live so that we can extract, so that we can pull from what it is that we're learning through that experience, so that when we do come back into our spring seasons and our summer seasons, we have things to really share to really help people. But I think it really does boil down to not thinking that we can exist in the same way all the time, because that's not realistic. That's not how we were created to be as extensions also of nature. And so it's like it is this dance because it is easy to get caught up in the hustle of it all. We live in a society that is in the hustle, the grind, the go, 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 go all the time. But how productive is that really when you're feeling miserable, when you're feeling burnt out,
Yeah.
when you're feeling you're feeling disconnected from the work because we're not allowing ourselves the spaciousness to actually live and be and play and learn so that we can then turn all of our findings into something that can actually be helpful for others.
Mhm. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. And how do you know which season you're in an honest way and not like, because sometimes your saboteur is like, oh, you got to
Mhm.
take a rest. And sometimes it's like, you need rest. Like, how do you know, how do you discern, I guess, which season to honor?
Again, it's a dance. It's like
Well, like,
it's a
for example, right now, like, what season are you in and how hard, like, what are the qualities that you know
yeah.
that I'm in the right season and I'm like, I can kind of have the freedom within my season to like explore?
So I personally feel very connected to the literal seasons. So like I feel during like winter time there is this natural kind of inwardness that happens. I do not feel the same drive and the same kind of like energetic buzz that I feel during like the spring summertime, just like naturally there's
Mhm.
something about this season that for me in my body, and I think kind of going back to what we were saying before about how much of this information really exists somatically. And if we really stop and pause to pay attention to it, we can get a lot of information about what's real for us, right? And I think people individually navigate through different seasons in their life. And so different seasons in their life at different times. And so even though collectively right now I'm navigating through what I would consider a summer season, I'm very much out, I'm creating, I'm out there. I want to be seen, perceived, all of the things, right? But even within that summer season, I go through a natural cycle of, okay, I just put out an essay or I just put out content on Instagram, let's just say for the last 2 weeks. I need
Mhm.
to take a little bit of a break because I can feel that my body and my energy is requiring that. It's asking that of me. And I think that's something that really comes through genuine observation of self over time, because you don't just like know it. You don't just like wake up and you're just like, okay, I just know this is where I'm at. It's observation, and I've been observing myself for a pretty long time. And just taking note of me and how I am naturally, and that curiosity, the curiosity trait that we talked about in the beginning. Like I'm very curious.
Spying on yourself and
Yes,
a
I'm curious about myself as well. And so when you get curious and you start to observe, you notice patterns. You start to notice how you feel in certain rooms, when you're around certain people, after you do certain activities or after you do certain tasks. You start to notice this when you get curious about yourself. And so that's really kind of the base. That's like the foundation for me. And because of that, I can check in with myself of how am I actually doing? How am I feeling? Is this me just being, a little lazy right now? Or is this me actually wanting rest? Is this me being scared? And that's why I'm procrastinating. It's asking all these different questions of the self to really get to a place of understanding of what is true and what's real for you. It truly is the discernment piece. Now that you have this data and you have this information, you do have to discern it to see what is true for you and what's not. And that's the dance, right? That's
Yeah.
the
It's so
the
interesting hearing
tango.
you from like your Harriet the Spy, like younger years, like all of that, it trickles down into like even how you are now is like it's all about like catching, like observing yourself and like taking all those skills that you did as a kid, not knowing, right? Just like
Right.
around and now like like having those skills about like turning them inward and like using that curiosity within yourself, tracking the patterns, and then really like sussing out like is this my saboteur speaking, is this like my true self speaking, and
Yeah.
that just takes time to like
Yeah. It
get
does.
to know
It
those
does.
sides of all of us and like
Yeah.
embrace them and not, not think of one as bad or the other, but
Right.
just truly like befriend all those parts of
Right.
ourselves.
Right. And learning not to just jump into judgment zone. Cause again, it's so
Oh,
quick and easy for us to do that. We observe this thing about ourselves and then we create a story about it, about what it means about us, as
mhm.
opposed to approaching it from that place of curiosity of like, well, what does this mean? Or what is this thing? Or what is, and not taking it in and taking it on as like an identity or anything like that. Like
100%.
really just getting curious about yourself. It's
Yeah.
actually really fun.
Wait, Michelle, are you okay to go over? Because I still have, I feel like I have
Oh,
some
yeah. Yeah,
things
I have
to talk
time.
to you about. Okay, beautiful. One thing that you have written on your Substack is one of the biggest mistakes we make is trying to build structure for ourselves before we actually understand how we naturally operate. I think this is naturally a progression of what you just talked about.
Yeah.
But can you break that down in terms of like maybe pitfalls you see other people making that can help them bring a little bit more awareness of like how they're maybe building structures that are not conducive to like their natural rhythm?
Yeah. I mean, I can use myself as the
Yeah,
as
yeah,
the
yeah.
example, and you know, you see all of this. There's a lot of rhetoric and there's a lot of things online. There's a lot of productivity hacks, a lot of like, do this, wake up at this time, try do this routine, do this thing, and you're gonna triple max your life and all of these things. And sure, that may work for someone else who maybe they naturally and their natural energy comes online at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. in the morning. But if you're not that type of person, you trying to force yourself to be that type of person ultimately is going to lead you to burnout, and it's going to lead you to completely dropping whatever it is you're doing. And I have learned this many of times. I have experimented and tried so many different hacks, so many different productivity routines and rituals, and thinking that, oh yeah, I'm going to stick to this, stick to this, stick to this, when the reality is I know that my energy naturally is the best from about 10 o'clock in the morning until around like 3. Those are like my peak times of the day. And then I get a dip, and then I'll get another kind of natural burst like late at night. It'll be like 10 o'clock at night. I get another kind of burst, more kind of creative energy starts to flow. So all of those times that I'm trying to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning to start my day and do all of this stuff never actually fit me, and it was never going to work long term because that doesn't actually fit who I am. It doesn't fit how I naturally operate. And so that's just something that I see a lot. Something becomes trendy, or a certain way of being that everybody is doing. And now everyone wants to try this, but then 2 weeks into it, they're not able to keep it up. But I'm not surprised you're not able to keep it up if that's not what comes natural to you. And so I think we do a lot of things, and I think society very much ingrains this in us because there is some sense of conformity that society is trying to cultivate. And
Mhm.
so we try to fit ourselves into things that really were not designed for us. And again, it may work for some people, sure,
Yeah.
but it doesn't mean that it's a one size fits all and that it's going to automatically work for you. And then when it doesn't work, that's when the doubt comes in of, well, what's wrong with me? Why
Yeah,
can't I do
we
this?
mistake that, like, resistance as, like, a lack of capability within us when
Right,
it's just we haven't found the right rhythm that works with us, not
right,
against.
right.
Do you
Exactly.
do you study Ayurveda by any chance?
I know a little bit about Ayurveda. That was a part
That's
of kind of what I learned when I did my certification program
that's
in
really cool.
2023. So
Yeah,
I know a little bit about the doshas and things like
that's
that. And
awesome. Well, I
yeah.
was gonna say that while you're talking, and specifically the times that you're talking that you feel really fiery and more creative, like in I've been studying Ayurveda for 20 years, and
Oh,
in
cool.
Ayurveda, like 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock in the like day and in the night is called Pitta hours, and that's when
Oh,
our Agni, our fire, and I know you're an Aries rising and stuff, but
yeah.
like our inner fire is like at its peak. So like that's why
Ah,
like we suggest in Ayurveda to like eat your biggest meat. Your lunch should be your biggest meal. That's why I schedule podcasts within that window, because I know that people are gonna feel most creatively like online and like more excited during those times. And I even notice like if I record episodes later in the day that like that energy kind of drops. So it's really
yeah.
interesting. There's so many similarities in like the work that you're doing as well of like finding the times that work for you, because I used to be that person who would like study the CEO like routine and be like, I need to be up at 4 a.m.
Right.
and I need to work out at this time, and constantly feeling like a fucking failure over and over again, because a lot of the stuff that we see, especially online, corporate or like more structured stuff, can really pull in the masculine energy, and we're not necessarily like especially as women, like it's important for us to like understand and respect the cycles of where we're feeling most energetic. But there's
Yeah.
so many similarities in Ayurveda. As you were talking, I was sensing that. And I also wanted to share too, it's like um I was feeling with Instagram and stuff, I've gone through phases where I've tried to force myself to do short form, and I still feel this resistance to it, and I'm starting to really realize like a year ago I decided, I'm like, "Oh, it's not the platform, it's just the medium itself." I love I'm a yapper. I like to take my
Mhm.
time. I love long form. I love writing. I love reading long form content. I love of creating long form content. So many of our creative um, friends and clients and stuff, like so many people are creating on formats that they hate. Like they don't like talking to camera, but they're talking to camera, and
Mhm.
they're a writer, but they're like doing like reels or like carousels, and it's like find what actually like makes you like feel harmonious and like what
Yeah.
you enjoy, and like know that there's always like once I started really giving up short form content for long form, I felt a huge difference in how I was showing up.
Yeah. Of course. I look at it as finding your natural mode of expression. Like, what is your natural mode of expression? How do you naturally express? And
Mhm.
this took time because I, similar to you, you, again, there's that pressure, that societal pressure of, well, you need to be here, you need to be here, you need to be here, you need to be everywhere. And it's like, yeah, but I don't, that doesn't feel good for me to try to be everywhere. If my
Mhm.
form of natural expression is long-winded, I want to, through writing or whatever the case is, or long form content, like a podcast or whatever, that's what I should lean into because that's actually what feels good to me. That's what's going to stay fun. And I think we forget about the fun and the playful part so much because, we think, we're adults and it's like all of a sudden we're just not supposed to have fun anymore. And I don't subscribe to that at all. I think
Yeah.
we need to bring in as much fun as we can into our lives, as much joy as we can, especially now because it's such a shit show. There's so much just happening in the world. It's like remaining connected and tethered to your joy and to your playfulness is a literal act of resistance. That is the way that I look at it. And we have to make this as fun for ourselves as possible. And when we're trying to, again, like contort ourselves, we are trying to force ourselves to fit someone else's mold, someone else's formula, as opposed to finding what is the formula or the format that fits me. I'm not going to force myself into something. I am going to do what feels best for me. That's ultimately why I started my Substack. Was I was trying to do short form content on Instagram and it just felt off. Like something about it was just feeling off. I felt like I couldn't really elaborate in the way that I want to. I'm a yapper as well. I'm long-winded. Like I like to go into the depths. I like to explain. I like to give context and all of that. And I felt like I couldn't do that on that platform, but I was forcing myself to be there because I thought, well, that's where I'm supposed to be. And once I released that pressure of what I thought I was supposed to be and where I thought I was supposed to be, it opened up so much because Substack gave me a space to actually let myself be long winded. The people who are on the platform are probably also long winded people who like longer things. That's why they're there. And so it's like, yes, now this brings me and puts me in front of an audience and in front of people who actually enjoy this, people who will read what it is that I'm saying, and we can get into conversation and dialogue. And if
Mhm.
I want to take something from that longer piece of content or whatever that I created and create maybe something shorter from it, then sure. And that's kind of what it's been for me now is I start with the longer thing now because that allows me to get it all out. And then
Yes.
I can take that and I can do other stuff with
It's
that
a game
longer thing.
changer.
It's such
Oh,
a game changer. But trying
love
to do it reverse, it's like this isn't you. You're trying to take an idea and a concept and shorten it into 90 seconds. And it's like, girl, that's not you. You
yeah.
can't do that. You just
No,
can't.
I've never talked to anyone about that before, but it is so true. It's like in reverse, it is impossible. It feels like
Yes.
you're moving against like the current or something
Yes. Yes.
versus like flowing with the current.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it's like that, and that is what it is about. I am all about just being and living in flow. We
Mhm.
don't have to do things the way that we think we should. It's about finding what works for you. What is your flow? What is your rhythm? What is your natural way of being and expressing? And do that. Do that. It'll come. It will all come together. It might take some time. It might not be quick. And I think that's what a lot of times we want because that is what we see in society. Where it's a very kind of microwave generation that we're living and existing in, where we want things so quick and so fast, but things take time and it's okay for it to take time. There's so much learning in the time. There's so much wisdom that is extracted from that time as well. You build a foundation for something that can actually stand as opposed to just something that is just super, super quick. And so I'd rather take the long way than to try to
Mhm.
shortcut my way through it. And if it takes me 20 years or whatever, like however long it's going to take, I know that I will get there because I am following it and doing it in a way that actually feels supportive to me and supportive to my energy and my aura and my vibe and my flow. And that feels good to me. That feels supportive.
That feels good to me. To
Mhm.
know that it feels good to you, that's when the resonance happens. And it's just like too many people, it's like when you season something like some meat and stuff, you gotta let it marinate a little. You
Right.
can't throw
Right.
it in the oven and expect it to taste good. We forget sometimes that mating time is like what also makes things gives it flavor.
Yes. Yes.
I
Yes.
love this. So it's a question that's so important for me to ask that ties into, I think, a lot of what the themes that we've been touching on is, and something you write about a lot, but and I also write about, which is consistency. So how do you like navigate your relationship to consistency when you are, I think your whole thing is about like embracing that rhythm, and sometimes I think how we a lot of people view consistency is like it's the exact same thing every single day. And so how have you kind of morphed your relationship with consistency over the years?
Yeah, it's been a journey. It still is something that I still am navigating for myself too, even now, is like the unprogramming of what I always thought consistency was supposed to be, which,
Mhm.
you think consistent, you think, okay, I have to do this thing every day. If I don't do it every day, then I'm not being consistent with it. And how I've redefined consistency for myself is more so, it's less about the amount of times that I'm doing something, and it's more about the intention behind it. And I think when I started to shift that in my mind of like, okay, if I, for example, right, I started a walking challenge with myself a couple of months ago, right? And the intention of that walking challenge really was just I need to get my body moving. Wasn't even about the walking. It was like I need to get my body moving, and I really needed to prove to myself that I can keep my word to myself, that I can
Mhm.
actually do what I say I'm going to do. And so I created a container for myself, which gave me a little bit of pressure, which was, okay, I'm going to do this every day for 30 days. That was the container that I set for myself. And
Mhm.
so I was able to do that. I did the 30 days. And then after the 30 days, now what happens? So it started to become just like a regular thing. Like your body just kind of gets used to it. This is kind of what I do. I get up in the morning and I go and I go and I go. But there were some days where I got up and, I had really bad cramps. And I'm
Mhm.
like, I don't feel like walking today. And I allowed myself to have that day because I don't think that missing one day or missing a handful of days of something that you are now devoted to means that you're no longer consistent in it. That in my mind doesn't make sense to me anymore. I don't think that it means anything about yourself if you decide that you don't want to do, yes, exactly, balance. It's about figuring out and finding for yourself. I think a lot of this is discernment, which we brought up before. There's a lot of discernment in this because yes, there is a difference between, okay, I have my period today and I'm cramping and I just really don't feel like it. That's one thing. And it's a totally different thing if I now have not done this thing in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and now I'm kind of falling back into old patterns. That's something else entirely. And I think that
Mhm.
discernment piece and that observation piece that we've kind of been talking about throughout is a part of what helps with that. And so if I look at consistency more so as my intention behind this action, whether I do it every single day or I only do it 3 days a week or whatever it is, or 2 days a week, that still to me is consistency. If I'm doing the thing more than I'm not, is kind of how I look at it.
Ooh, yes, and I actually just I've been writing a lot about this, like, what that distinct difference is, and to me, it's like consistency can have 2 feelings somatically in the body. It's one is very punishing, and there's, like, a tightness, like, when you think about doing the thing, there's, like, a tightness and a
Yes.
action that happens, and you feel, like, a sense of punishment, like, "If I don't do this, I'm a bad person somehow."
Hmm.
And it doesn't even make some rational sense, but it's somehow it always boils down, at least in my experience, I'm bad. Like
Yeah.
I'm a bad person or I'm a
That
bad
judgment.
leader. Yeah, it goes into shame. And then the opposite of that is devotion. And the opposite
Hmm.
it's not even discipline, but like just the devotion of it and being like, this ritual, this practice is here to serve me. There's like, I'm
Exactly.
here to just like to show up and to give, like, let this craft and this practice give to me what I need. And there's this difference of like receiving, and like there's just a devotional love to that side versus
Mhm.
the punishing side. I can fall into that very quickly. And if I do break a streak, I give myself, I think it's so important, like you said, about giving yourself a container, because no boundary or no container is also too much freedom, is
Yes.
actually can hurt us. And so
Yes.
I give myself, like, I have 2 days of fucking it up. Like if I
Mhm.
fall off the train for 2 days, if I forget to meditate and then I remember to meditate and I still don't do it, give myself 48 hours. But then the third day, I have to come back with that devotional energy, and not in this, I'm a bad person and therefore I have to come. Because doing it with the mindset of I'm a bad person is actually just planting this really, really
Right.
detrimental seed
Yes.
that is actually causing a lot of structural damage to your integrity.
Yes, it's creating this system that is rooted in just rigidity. And I think that that also exists too. It's like, sometimes we can be too loose, too loose and too flowy, but we can also be too rigid as well, where we don't leave any room for anything, because the truth is that life is going to happen. Things are going to pop up and come up that are going to disrupt. And it's not about the disruption, because a lot of times, the things that are happening outside of us are not things that are often within our control, but it's a matter of how do we respond to these things. I think a
Mhm.
lot about the like the palm tree, right? How the palm tree is rooted and it's grounded, but the palm tree still has flexibility to be able to move and sway with the wind. And I think that is such a model for how we ourselves could really take on how we approach and exist in our own lives. Like, be rooted and be grounded, which is why I think we need structure. We need the balance of the feminine and the masculine. We need the flow, but we also need the structure. But it's finding a structure that works for you, that works with you, as opposed to bringing in that more rigidness, which breeds the judgment, which breeds, now we're forming this opinion about ourselves, as opposed to getting curious, like we've been talking about. Like, that's kind of the underlying theme that we've been talking about, is this curiosity about ourselves, taking in the information and allowing ourselves to discern what is actually going on with us. That's the big thing. Discernment is it's so big, it's so key in all of this.
And it's very rare. It's a very rare skill nowadays. So the more we sharpen that, the knife on the
Yeah.
sword, or discernment, the better in a position we are for ourselves. I really, yeah, I just can't stress enough, like, your work, it really, like, it gave me so much permission to like let go of having every day look the same. I think I
Yeah.
didn't even realize I was trapped in that.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that, because sometimes maybe to someone like you who's been so in tune with it, it's such an obvious thing, but I really needed that, like, to remind myself, like, I don't, like, Aisha, you don't have to do the same shit every single day for it to count.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Oh,
And for some
yeah.
people, that works for them. And that's why I'm like, it is all about finding what works for you. For some people, they do. They
That
need.
works for my partner, like, and I'm like, "More
Right,
power to you." I'm
right.
like, "You
Like,
do
you
you."
that
Yeah,
works, that is great, but that doesn't work for everyone. But we're trying to force ourselves to fit into that, because that is the mold that,
right.
for the most part, society kind of runs off of, which is this
Mhm.
kind of conformity, the sameness. And it's like, if you don't fit into that, you start to feel like something is wrong with you, as though you somehow are not worthy or valuable enough. And it has nothing to do with that. It's just, you flow different, you function differently, and that is okay. That's a beautiful thing. That's actually part of the fun. I think I love being able to create something different for my days. Like, I love having that type of structure where, okay, Mondays are different for me than Wednesdays, and Thursdays are different for me than Sundays. Like, I don't have to do the same thing every day in order for it to count. And I think that was a big unlearning for me, because I very much believed that that was how I had to be. If I wasn't that, then I wasn't disciplined. I wasn't this. I wasn't committed. I wasn't any of that stuff. And I allowed those false beliefs to really dictate and um really define a big chunk of my life. But
Mhm.
not anymore. I feel
Not
very different
anymore.
now.
You're like, bye-bye, bye-bye, same
Right.
thing every day. Life is more interesting that way.
It's so interesting. It's so much more fun. It's like,
This
again, today it's Friday. It is a Venus day. This is like
Yeah,
beauty just on this screen. Like, yes, this is what it's about. Let's create. Let's get into the things. Let's be all about joy and love on this day. Like,
yes.
let's embrace that. Let's embrace play and fun and rest as parts of our life, as opposed to those being things that we feel we have to earn and that we have to work our way toward just to be able to earn some fun. Like, no, we can throw that into our day anytime.
Agreed,
Every Friday. That could be what it is that we do. Because why not?
agreed, agreed. All right, my love. I have more stuff that I want to talk about. So I went down. I read your Medium articles from back in 2023. I went down. I love the research. This is my dharma. This is what I do. I went down the internet rabbit hole. I went and found all the little diamonds that you've been leaving
Yes.
throughout your life.
Over the
And
years.
something that you wrote so you wrote in 2023 in Medium an article called Comparison is a Detour on Your Journey to Wholeness. And so you also write that the journey is not about avoiding the detours, but rather learning how to deal with the detours when you encounter them. So I think the natural question for me is, how do you like manage now? Because you're probably a different iteration and version of who you are than the person who wrote this article back
Mhm.
in 23. But how do you like manage your feelings of comparison or jealousy now when they come up and try to deter you on your path?
Yeah. I mean, oh yeah, you went
You
back.
didn't know I was gonna go down, like I was gonna go deep.
Yes,
Okay.
you went back. I appreciate it. Yeah, those have been little seeds, little nuggets, little things that I've been kind of dropping. You know, my relationship now, especially to the emotion of jealousy, right? I think jealousy is such an interesting emotion, right? It's one of those ones that I think for a lot of us, we have been told that it's wrong to feel that way. I do not believe that any emotion is a bad emotion. I
Mm,
believe that emotions are information. It is our body's way of informing us about things. And so, what I think the danger is, and where the danger comes, is in how we respond to our emotions. So, like, anger in of itself is not a bad emotion, but how you respond to it, that can kind of shift it. And so jealousy is one of those ones that for me now, even the comparison, I'm like, these are things that are going to come up. I don't have this viewpoint of it of like, I'm never going to feel jealous of something. I'm never going to compare myself to something. That's just not reality. And that's not what it is. I know that these things are going to happen, but I get curious with them now because I know that they're trying to tell me something. When I get a feeling of like a jealous feeling that's rising in my body, and it's something that now I recognize what that feeling feels like for me. So when it comes up, I get curious about it because I'm like, oh, there's something here that I'm desiring. There's something here that I would like for myself. That's why I'm feeling this thing. I'm feeling this emotion because I'm not there yet, but this is revealing for me something that I do actually want. And so instead of me feeling that jealousy and wanting something negative toward the person who all they're doing is just living their life, that gives me information about what it is that I'm desiring. And now it's like, okay, how can I build to get there? What actions do I need to take? What do I need to do in order to create that, or create my version of this in my life? And so I think what's really shifted for me over the years is my relationship to a lot of these more like denser emotions that before I felt a lot of shame around feeling these things, whereas now I welcome them because I know that there is wisdom and there's nuggets in there, and I
Sure.
let myself experience it more. I let myself experience the emotion more. I let myself feel this emotion more, and then I let myself get curious with it. And curiosity is really just the thing. There's just so much wisdom and knowledge and learnings to gain when we get curious about stuff.
Absolutely. Can you keep it real and tell me an exact moment that you felt jealous and like how you like took what you're saying and like processed it? It always helps to give like a tangible example.
Yeah. So let me think. Because this was actually, I think this was just the other day. There's this creator who I love. I love her content. And so,
Mhm.
and I feel very inspired by her content because the way in which she lives, she has such a freedom to the way that she lives, right? And she had posted something about how she was taking from now until I think September, like off, like that was going to be her off time. And
Mhm.
I felt that pang of like,
Like,
I,
must be nice.
yes, I'm like, I want that. That is what it is I'm wanting. And I called it out and I'm like, I feel jealous right now. I'm feeling jealous of this because this is something that I want. Like, this is the life that I'm wanting to build toward and to create toward. And one of the reasons I love her content is because it feels very aspirational. I'm like, yes, you're living your life in a way that I really very much aspire to be living. And so that pang just reiterated for me the deep desire that I have for freedom to be really like the thing that I'm striving toward. And I was just like, yes, this is what I want to be doing. She was like at the beach and I'm like, yes, this is it. She was talking about how she'll be traveling, like going different places throughout the summer and I'm like, yes, this is literally exactly what I want. But I had to call it. I had to name it. Like I had to name what it was that I was feeling. And I'm like, I feel this. I feel jealousy for
Yeah,
about what it is that I'm seeing.
you're jealous of like the financial freedom that this person has to be
Yes.
able
And
to
the
take
time freedom. Yeah. Yes. The time
absolutely.
freedom, the financial freedom, all of that. And I know that's what I'm building toward. That's what all of this is really about, is to build toward that life. But along the way, yeah, you're gonna come up against things that are gonna make you feel that are gonna make you feel some type of way. And I don't think we run from it. I think we
Mhm.
have to face it. Embrace what this is, that this is trying to show me and show us. And I think it just deeply affirms something that I already know, but it just like extra highlights it. Like, yes, Michelle, this really is a desire that you have. You really do want that. And yeah. And so, who knows? You'll see me taking my summers off, and I'll be traveling and going here and going there. And
Yeah,
that'll be
most
my
people would have
reality.
just been like unfollow, 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 but you're a bigger, better person than me sometimes. It's hard for me sometimes to like also not compare where people are in that like entrepreneurial journey, because like someone's already maybe sunk 7 years,
Right.
building something.
Right.
And it's like,
I have to remind myself of that a lot. Like that's
exactly.
a constant
I'm like,
reminder of
does
that.
10 years of thinking about it count?
Right. Right. I have to
Like,
remind myself of that often. I'm like,
yeah.
they have been doing this. That's the work that they put in, the time that they put in. And it's like, okay, Michelle, patience, patience.
Yeah.
Patience is one of like my biggest lessons in this lifetime. I know it. And so it is something that I'm constantly having to remind myself about, is things take time. Things take
Good
time.
things take a lot of time.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
really it really does. If you wanna build something that's gonna last, like, yeah, that foundation has to be strong, and you don't build a strong foundation quickly. You want to make sure that whatever you have and whatever that is that you're building and laying down on top of that foundation can stand it. And so yeah, it is going to take a little bit of time, and I have to remind myself of that. It's
Yeah.
constant reminders, like,
Yeah. And you
keep
also,
putting in the work.
yeah, and you also don't know who looks at you and gets jealous. You might be triggering to other people as well.
Yeah.
And that's something that I'm also, anytime I feel jealousy or comparison, I remind myself like, oh, I'm invisible. Like that person doesn't know that I feel jealous about them, you know? And so the same goes, like we're planting those seeds and we also forget that we're ignorant to the fact that maybe other people are looking at certain aspects of our lives or certain aspects of our audacity or what we're doing and might be jealous of that, but we're all like experience, that's like the most human emotion is to
Yeah, we feel it.
yeah, yeah,
We feel
just
it. We
feel it
feel
but
it.
move through it and like and I think you have a very healthy you've grown a really healthy relationship to that emotion.
Yeah, for
I love
sure. It took time because again, the that was literally the world I was existing in, was just this world of comparison because I felt inherently not good enough. Like that was my base. And so my relationship with comparison is very different now because I feel very differently about myself.
Mhm.
So that's been the biggest shift and the biggest change for me, is that I don't feel that way about myself anymore. I know that I'm valuable. I know that I'm worthy just simply because I exist. And so that shift and that change and that reframe of it makes my relationship to things like comparison or jealousy or these other kind of denser feelings just a little bit different. I can be in the emotions differently now than I was able to be before. And I'm really grateful for that. And even just a reminder to myself sometimes that, my current version of Michelle is living a past version of Michelle's dream as well. Like, I have made progression in my own life. Like, I have I am living very much things that I dreamed about as well, things that I wanted and things that I desired. And I think that's also a beautiful thing to remind myself of. And that comes up for me from time to time as well when I'm reflecting, is like, yeah, you prayed for this. This was what you wanted. Like, you wanted this. Like, this moment here, talking to you right now, being on your podcast right now, this is something that I dreamed of one day getting to be a guest and get to talk to people who are like-minded and who have similar worldviews and who have similar missions, and to be able to share space and commune with each other. This is something I dreamed of. And so it's like, yes, I am living my dreams right now, and I have more of them, and I'm gonna get there because I do believe I get what I want. Oh, eventually it happens. And so yeah, like, we have to remind ourselves of that sometimes too. Like, even when things seem like they are progressing slowly, we still are very much existing in something that we wanted at one point, and there's gratitude to be had in that for sure.
Yeah, thank you for that. That feels like a gift to hear.
Yes.
And sometimes I forget too, like as struggle a lot with so much doubt creating what I'm creating and comparing myself to like much bigger, more established podcasts out there. And it took me years to just even get over this fear of like there's already so much. Like what do I have to say? And then my deepest wound is like the I'm not enough wound. And so to get over that and to be here with you and then like you realize that like also you create things that open doors and opportunities for other people and there's so much we're blind to, and I really appreciate you saying that so much because it makes me feel like it makes me feel really seen and like
Yeah.
that I'm not just doing this. um yeah, I'm also doing this for my past self, but for people like you to have a spotlight shown on them. Something Yeah, damn, thank you. Um,
You're welcome. You are so welcome. I think sometimes we do need to hear that, and we need that to be reflected back to us. Is like, I'm grateful for you for answering your call, because in you answering yours, you allowed someone else, me, to go deeper into mine. And I think that's what this is all about, right? Is we had said it before, just like standing in our authenticity of who it is that we are, and showing up as our fullest selves, and living out that person, that soul's mission. And it gives so many other people permission when you see someone doing something that you would love to be doing. It makes it just seem like, oh yeah, this is possible. And they're a human just like me, and I can connect with them, and we can be in community with each other, and we can help each other grow. Like, it's all about, for me, just collaborative energy. Like, why do we have to do everything by ourselves? Like, because it doesn't, what comes from that? All of this is really about service to one another, and just
100%.
reminding each other, I think, of each other's light. And I think that's the beauty of all of this, is it's connection at its core.
Yeah, well, damn, I'm in love with you now. It's a little, it's a little too late. I'm, I'm in deep. I'm a stage 5 singer at this point. You write something that I think literally shook me to my core, and so I'm gonna try to say this without crying because I'm already like feeling emotional about what you
Yeah.
shared. But um, sorry,
No, it's okay. Don't apologize.
you. I know I'm doing the same thing that I'm not sorry. I take back my sorry. You wrote in one of your Medium articles, I'd spent most of my life up to this point living in a body of fear. It was all I knew. This fear stopped me from living in my full expression and standing in my light for so long that the mere thought of actually doing that and being that person frightened me to the point of complete stagnation. Yet I was holding on to this version of myself out of habit and out of fear. You wrote that.
I know. I know it speaks to a very, like, a very special version of myself. Like, hearing that back, it's like, I haven't gone back and reread, these things that I wrote, years ago. And it's like, it brings me back to that version. And I know what it is to exist and live as a person who is just so afraid to stand out. I mentioned earlier, talking a little bit about my upbringing, like, I created this persona of a person to just exist in the background. And I got very much used to that. I became the person who just wanted to fit in. I did not want to stand out. I didn't want, anything to make me different from the people around me. And I realized in that reflection how much that persona held me back from really
Mhm.
being who it was that I was always supposed to be. And the fear was so strong. The fear was so heavy. I felt like I was, like, drenched in, like, cement. Like, it was so heavy. I couldn't even think about what the next step even could be, because I was so afraid of what it would mean if I actually took the step and did the thing. What would that mean? What would that mean for the people around me, of how they're going to see me, what they're going to think about me? What is, like, I was I was so scared. And the fear is still there. Don't get me wrong. It's like the fear is still there and the fear still exists, but my relationship to the fear is so different now than it was then. The fear back then really stopped me from being able to make any type of move at all. I had so many ideas and so many things that I wanted to do. And I definitely spent a lot of time trying to like convince myself to do the thing, but I didn't have the courage. I didn't.
Mhm.
And that was just the truth. I didn't have the courage. I didn't believe in myself, not even a little bit, to be able to take that first step. And so it is so, it's so interesting to hear that because it's like, wow, it reflects to me just how much growth I really have had on my journey and like how much I have really changed as a person. Um, because I feel the fear now and I'm just very much like, let's do it. Like the fear is there now to remind me like, okay, Michelle, you're stepping outside of your comfort zone. That's why you feel a little afraid. Even before we got on the podcast, I'm like, I'm a little nervous. Like I
Yeah.
feel the nerves, I feel it, but I know that the nerves are there because I am doing something outside of my comfort zone. I have really started to build a different relationship with fear now, and it's not my prison anymore. And just to be able to say that is really like that feels really monumental. Thank you for highlighting that because I'm like I didn't remember remember writing this. It was just an expression of whatever it was I was navigating at that time. And 2023 was such an interesting year for me, so it does make sense that this is that's from when I think about that year. So
Yeah.
um that was the year that I really stepped out for the first time to start putting myself out there. I would have never shared any of these words, these feelings, none of that would I have ever had the audacity to come out and start to share. And so, yeah, thank you
Yeah.
for thank you for that.
I didn't even have a question because I think when I read that, it stopped me in my tracks because it was like as if my past self had written it, but I probably could not have written it as beautifully as you did. But like when I read it, it was as if like my body transported to like that version of me that and you even now articulated it as this feeling of like you're being drowned in cement. Like that's
Yeah,
really like it's so destabilizing, it's so paralyzing that you don't even know if you can ever like get to the other side.
yeah,
And so it's interesting because I out of everything you've ever written, that's the thing that like I was like, oh, we have some common ground because
yeah,
we've come from the depths of that fear to where we are, you
yeah.
know?
That's why every action that we're taking now is like it's so big. Like
So
everything is such a big deal for me because I know where I came from of not being able to make not even one micro step toward what I said I wanted. And so to be in this space now where we're like doing the things, we're continuing to show up regardless of how many likes or how many whatever or shares, like we're doing the thing. And that in of itself is that's everything for me personally. Like just the fact that I'm still in this doing it, one,
Mhm.
it really shows me that yes, this is my purpose work, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, because I'm like, I'm not giving up on this. I am feel very committed toward this direction that I'm being pulled. And
Mhm.
I know that there's so much more there and there's so much more to just to take from this experience. And so I'm proud of us.
Yes. Yes, and I think that that's also such a huge reason why this container exists is to not just highlight the highlights of entrepreneurship, which I think a lot of people do that already, but like that that passage is like your bread and butter. It's like where you came from, and that's what matters. That's what I think really moves people and inspires people is just like, yeah, of course, like when you're on the other side taking your Septembers off and you're on the beach, like that's great. I'd love to talk about that one day too and invite you back on the podcast and we can,
Yes.
you know, like enjoy those times, but it's like the journey through that smothering feeling of fear and
Mm,
transforming that fear of smothering to this thing that allows you to like shine light is it's that part, the muddy part that is actually
mhm.
I find the most beauty in, and I find the most reason for being is to express that part of us.
Yeah, the messy middle.
Yeah, the messy middle. Um, my final question to you is like, what is this current season of your life asking of you? And if you had to give this season of your life like a chapter title, what would it be?
Mm.
I know you're in your summer bag right now, being
Yeah, I'm in a summer bag, but it's like the first word that popped into my mind was audacity. Like that's a word that I've been really like just sitting with a lot lately of just showing up in it, showing up imperfectly. Perfectionism is such it's such a thing. It has such a hold on you because it speaks to all of that worthiness wound stuff. Like it starts to really trigger all of those things. And
Mhm.
I think right now, this season of my life is really just about like feeling the fear and acting anyway. Like that is what it is. It's just,
Period.
yeah, just feeling it. Okay, I'm still going to do it. You're not stopping me. I'm not allowing you to control my life anymore in the way that you controlled my life for 30 something years. So it's like, no, I'm not allowing that anymore. I'm the one who is going to be in control of the things that I do, and I'm so devoted to what I know I see. The vision that I have in my mind for my life is so clear. And I know that as long as I continue to make and take the steps toward it, that's all it is that I need to do. Everything else is going to come in exactly how it's supposed to, exactly how, our connection, how things just flow and fall into alignment when you are walking the path that you are meant to be walking. You open yourself up for the world to literally bend itself to you. And I feel like that's the season that I'm in right now. I'm getting so much confirmation and so much just affirmations about this journey that I'm on and this road that I'm on that it's like, yeah, I can't give up now. Like, what? I don't even know what I would do. I can't even imagine not doing this work. I would feel so empty. And I'm in it. I'm like, okay, I'm revving up, and the things that are going to come are what's going to come from it. Whatever I create, whatever it is I put out there, I know that this is work that I'm meant to do. I know that it is going to touch people. I know that it's going to change people's lives and change the ways that they relate to themselves. And that really changes everything. It's just, changing this relationship that we have um, with ourselves and the world around us collectively. And so, yeah, this is an audacious season for sure.
Period.
Yes.
Period. I want to just make one little correction. You said you're gonna touch people. You
I
already did.
thank you. Thank you.
Wanted to put that like there's nothing to go after. It's you already do by being exactly what you're being in this moment and in every moment that has both been seen and unseen by people.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you. I receive that.
good. I so
Yeah.
I creeped on your Insta and I saw this comment from a friend of yours, Erin,
Oh, yes.
and I wanted to read this comment to you because
Okay.
you to be showered by love. Just maybe it hits your ear in a different way because you're in a different place. But your friend Erin commented on one of your posts, and she said, "For as long as I've known you, you've been this grounding guide in our friend group. If Mish is planning, I know we're good. To see you tap into your God given abilities and investing in your craft is inspiring. I'm beyond proud of you and humbled to call you a friend. I love you so. I just wanted to say, like, I just became your friend today, and I feel like everything she said is true. Is like, the more you tap into your gift, the more unstoppable you become. And I see it, and I don't even know you. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't even know you, and I see it. I just wanted to remind you of that.
Mm.
I am going.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that reflection. Because I remember when she left that comment, and it reminded me of, the people around you a lot of times see you before you even see yourself. And, I didn't see myself in that way. And so to be reflected back, it's truly like, it is just the most supportive feeling to feel seen, you know, to not have to pretend, to not have to put the mask on, to have people just accept you for who it is that you are. And I'm really grateful for the people that God continues to put and place into my life, because I'm very, very blessed and I know that. And so I'm very thankful for it. I'm grateful for our newfound connection. I'm excited to just connect just generally after this, and I know that we will. And so
Yeah, well,
thank
I'm gonna
you.
be borrowing all your bandanas and all your jewelry because I got a real high bandana and jewelry collection game. So we can do our little swaps and then we will connect, obviously, after this. It has been like such a joy and such an affirmation to have you on the podcast. And I just hope you know that, like, I'm just this little blimp on your journey, but I hope that this experience just reminds you of your light and like how powerful it is when you choose to step out of the shadows and out of the fear and choose, like, with your discernment, with your devotion, to like step in and be the audacious version of yourself. It really is beyond anything I could have ever asked for. And I'm so grateful for that. And I hope that you also got something from that experience.
Yes, I did. I did so much. I have a lot to sit with when I when
And
we
I'll reach
finish.
out and we'll like debrief a little, but I think both of us, it's always important to give ourselves time to like let things process and stuff.
Yeah, yes.
I will let you go. I'm so sorry for keeping you
Oh
for so
no,
long. This has
this
been
was
a
how you know you're
2 hour.
flowing. You're flowing when you just lose track of time. I'm
Yeah,
like, yes.
it's been 2 hours, and so I apologize for stealing and hijacking an hour of your life, but an extra hour, but it has just been such a joy to hear your story. There's so much more to unpack, and I'd love to have you on at another point in your journey just to like reconnect and see, like, so share with the community where you're at. But you have a huge supporter and number one fan in your corner, always. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much, Michelle. It's been a joy.
Thank you so, so much. This was beautiful. And thank you to everyone who was here live with us, and everyone who's going to
Yes.
hear and listen to this episode. Thank you for sticking around with us through our tech glitches and all the things. Just grateful to just have and be in a space of people who just get it.
Yes, agreed. Thank you everyone for joining, and I will share the replay next week. And it's been the best time.
Yes.
All right. Love you,
All right.
girl.
Love you too. Bye.
Bye.